That was weird. Hello beautiful people, thank you so much for clicking to watch this video and welcome to another episode of Makeup and History. If you're new here, my name is Cydnee. You can call me Cyd. My friends call me Cyd. Sometimes. Makeup and History is a series here on my channel where I put on makeup while talking about a historical event, a scandal from the past, or a person that I just find really fascinating. Last week we talked about John and Lorena Bobbitt, the castration of a man who had it coming. It's a very interesting story. If you haven't seen it yet, please go and check her out. Today we're going to be talking about Princess Diana and her very messy relationship with Prince Charles. I loved her wedding dress. I was obsessed with her wedding dress. I would have worn the exact same thing had I had a wedding. Same dress. Loved it. I wore this shirt today because it kind of reminded me of her wedding dress, right? Look at this. It's so like puffy. Don't ask why I had this in my closet, but I am glad that I did, right? If you haven't already and you would like to, please subscribe to my channel, join me, turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss anytime I upload a new video, and yes, let's jump into it. Let's put on some makeup and get into this story. All the products and everything that I'm using will be listed down in the description box below if you're curious. And as usual, if you are familiar with the story or any of the facts, you have more details that I don't say in this video, please be sure to include them down in the comments below, as well as fact check me if I get anything wrong. Politely correct me. Be greatly appreciated. Alright, so I admittedly did not know much about the royal family for majority of my life. I have seen all the episodes of The Crown. I'm obsessed with The Crown on Netflix. Oh, golden. But prior to that show and doing research for this video, I admittedly didn't know anything about any of them. I knew who the Queen was, kind of. I know one of them was friends with Epstein. Yikes. But I didn't know much about Prince Charles, Princess Diana, really nothing. So I learned a lot. Today, we're going to be focusing on the relationship between Princess Diana and Prince Charles. Their relationship was a mess. It was very messy from the very beginning. All right, let's get started. November of 1977 is when Diana and Charles meet for the first time. Now, it's not entirely clear if this was the first time they were ever in the same room. Diana's family were members of the aristocracy. They had long ties to the royal family, so it's possible that Charles and Diana had met before, but this was the first time they met, if you know what I mean. Charles was 29 and Diana was 16. Yeah. 16 years old. At the time, Prince Charles was the most eligible bachelor in the world. Everyone wanted to know who he was going to marry, when he was going to get married. They wanted to know who was going to be the next Queen of England. So Charles was visiting the Spencer household because originally he was there to meet with Sarah Spencer, Diana's older sister. Sarah was thrilled to be spending time with the prince. She was all in. She was like, yes, I want to be the next princess. She really liked him a lot. So Sarah was showing a lot of interest in Charles. She was really laying it on thick. And Diana was just kind of minding her business. And Charles seemed to be more interested in Diana. Diana didn't really know what to think of Charles at the time. She could see that her sister really liked him, but it didn't seem that Charles liked Sarah back. Diana, who again was 16 years old, was a virgin. She'd never had a boyfriend before. She had no real experience with the opposite sex. So she didn't fully understand what to think about the attention Charles was giving her. She was a little chubby. She wasn't wearing any makeup. She was not at all sophisticated. She kind of behaved like a child a little bit, but she was, well, because she was a child. But she was very charming, and Charles seemed to be drawn to that. It was well known that at the time, Charles was seeing many women. He had many eligible prospects to be the next princess. Both Diana and Sarah were eligible prospects. Sarah, who was 22 at the time, seemed like the most obvious choice, but Charles seemed to like Diana a little bit more. Diana had a very unconventional personality. She wasn't like the other women begging for his attention. She was different. She wasn't like the other girls. Diana knew that she was different. She always felt that she was different. She was very warm and empathetic. She wasn't stuck up and posh like some of the other women in their social circle. And she was often looked down upon for this. They thought she was like, you know, like whatever, Diana's weird. As a child, Diana was a bit whimsical. She loved to dance and perform. She was admittedly not very academic. One of her greatest achievements in school was winning an award for the best kept guinea pig. She was very unconventional. After graduating high school, Diana got work as a nanny at a nursery. Her personality was perfect for working with young children, and they gravitated towards her because she was so caring and nurturing. She was very sweet. She had a very sweet personality. So over the next 3 years, Charles and Diana would continue bumping into each other, mainly because Sarah was still very actively pursuing Charles. Sarah really was trying to secure the bag. Sarah was trying to secure that bag. She wanted to be the princess. Charles was seeing Sarah, but he was also seeing many other women, and he continued showing interest in Diana anytime they were at the same party. In July of 1980, Charles is 32 now, Diana is 19, and to the dismay of Charles's parents and the rest of the world, Charles is still not engaged. He's not engaged. There's no, everyone's like, Charles, who's it gonna be, Charles? We need to know. Charles is like, dang. Give me some time. So in July of 1980, Charles and Diana are both invited to stay at a mutual friend's house, and this is when the two really connected. By this time, Sarah had given up trying to date Charles. She'd realized something about Charles that Diana was too young and naive to see at the time. Diana saw Charles as a very sad and tortured soul, which he was. Prince Charles was indeed very sensitive and complicated. He had recently attended the funeral of his very beloved uncle, Louis Mountbatten, the only family member, or one of the only family members, Charles felt really cared for him, and he had died very suddenly, so Charles was especially vulnerable and sad. Charles liked that Diana was so warm and empathetic. It felt like she truly cared about him, so he became even more drawn to her, and the two started spending more alone time together. In September of 1980, Charles and Diana were photographed together by a paparazzi for the first time, and Diana was horrified. She knew that any time Charles was photographed with any woman in the press, rumors would start circulating about whether or not they were dating and if this was going to be the next queen. And she knew that that put a lot of pressure on Charles because they'd been talking. He'd confided in her about his emotions. So she wanted no parts of that. She was like, no. So she runs away. She's like, I don't want to be photographed. She runs. It's too late. They know who she is. They start stalking her. They find out where she works, where she lives, and they camp out of her house and follow her to her car. And this would begin the paparazzi's obsession with Princess Diana. So rumors began circulating that Prince Charles and Diana were going to get engaged, and Diana seemed like the perfect candidate. Diana was beautiful. She was very photogenic. She was charming, she was sweet.
Her pedigree is perfect. Her father is the 8th Earl Spencer, a wealthy landowner who farms 15,000 acres in the heart of the Northamptonshire countryside. The family link with the royal family dates back to Queen Victoria's reign and before.
She was young, she was the perfect age to bear children, and she was a virgin. She had no reputation, so she checked all the boxes. They were like, dang, this girl's kind of perfect. Members of the monarchy also described Diana as being not that bright. They didn't think that she was very educated. They thought she was very naive, but this was a good thing because she could be molded into the perfect queen. Very predatory. Charles was going to be the next king, so they just needed someone to make him look good.
Charles felt that he could impose his own personality on her, and she would become a kind of female complement to him.
In a TV interview, the 21-year-old Charles said,
"Whoever I choose is going to have a jolly hard job, always in my shadow."
So that's what he wanted. He wanted a shadow. Charles's parents, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, both approved of Diana, and they really wanted Charles to get on with it. They were like, come on, Charles. Time's a ticking, Charles. Charles was still very hesitant because he didn't love Diana, but he knew he had to get married soon, and he needed his parents off his back. He needed the whole world off of his back, and he saw why Diana was a good option, but he was still very hesitant. Ultimately, in February of 1981, Charles asked Diana to marry him, and she said yes. Now, at the time that Charles asked Diana to marry him, she was only 19 years old. She was most certainly naive. She had no idea what she was getting herself into. I think our long-term processes in our brain, the thing that processes things in the future isn't fully developed at that age. That's why teenagers make such terrible decisions. But nevertheless, Diana said yes, and she was very excited about marrying Charles. Diana believed that she was in love with Charles. She, again, had never had a relationship before. She'd never had any experience with men before, so she didn't really have anything to reference.
In my immaturity, which was enormous, I thought that he was very much in love with me, which he was. He was sort of had the besotted look about him, looking back at it, but it wasn't the genuine sort.
She did know that he was interested in her, and he asked to marry her, so she figured, he must love me, right? Right? Wrong. Wrong, girl. He didn't love you, girl. The truth was that Charles was in love, but not with Diana. And now you might be asking, well, who is he in love with, Cydnee? Who? Tell us who. I'll tell you. Charles was in love with Camila Parker Bowles. Yes, his current wife. The woman he's married to right now. He was in love with her back then. Yeah. Alright, so now we need to get in our time machine and go back in time to find out what's the deal with Camila and Charles, right? Let me just finish this eye real quick. One sec. Alright, so this is going to be a really short ride. We only need to go back about 10 years. So, put your seatbelt on. Alright, we're here. Now we're in the early 1970s, late 1960s. We don't exactly know when. We'll say it's about 1970. Charles and Camila meet for the first time at a polo match. Charles and Camila were the same age. They were around 20 years old, and Camila was 6 months older than Charles. Charles and Camila realized that they had a lot in common. They had very similar personalities. Camila was a very loud and lively personality. She loved to tease and make jokes with Charles. The two had amazing chemistry, and everyone around them, when they were together, could see that they were a match made in heaven. They got on like a house on fire. Poof! Blow that house up. That was Charles and Camila. Shortly after meeting, Charles confessed his love to Camila, and by the age of 21, he was convinced that Camila was his soulmate and he wanted to marry her. Unfortunately, his parents disagreed. His father, Prince Philip, thought that Camila was a commoner. Although she came from a wealthy background, her family didn't have a high enough status to be the next queen, so he's like, no, son, she's not good enough. She's very rude. Camila was also an experienced woman. She had some experience. Meaning she wasn't a virgin. She had been in known relationships prior to dating Charles, and that was unacceptable.
It's absolutely vital to have on the throne somebody who was a virgin. A future queen must have no past.
Ugh. Gross. Charles did not care what his parents thought. He loved Camila, but he did decide to take the advice of his beloved uncle, again, the one who he felt really truly cared about him. His uncle told him that he's too young to commit to anyone and that he needed to sow his oats before he decided, to settle down. Charles was also preparing to enlist in the Navy, so he was going to go to the Navy, sow his wild oats, and then settle down with, hopefully, Camila. Charles leaves to go to the Navy, and a year later, when he returns, Camila is married to someone else. Charles was devastated because he genuinely loved Camila, and he knew now there was no way they were going to be able to be together. He was devastated. He was heartbroken. But he and Camila remained close friends. Close friends. Yeah, sure. This was the reason it took Charles so long to find a bride. He was being set up left and right. There were a lot of very viable options, but he wasn't interested in any of them because he was in love with Camila. Sarah, Diana's older sister, had caught on to the fact that Charles was in love with Camila. She had seen them together in social settings, and she was like, oh, okay, got it. All right, I'm gonna back off. Diana had been a bit too young and naive to see what was happening here. She hadn't realized it yet, so I don't know why her sister didn't tell her either. That's fake. Her sister was fake, but maybe her sister thought Diana was fake. Like, why are you trying to steal my man? What are you doing? I'm going to be the next princess, not you. And her sister's like, oh, okay, you want to be the princess? Your problem now. Sounds like Sarah was a bit fake, but I don't know. I wasn't there. All right, so after Diana and Charles started publicly seeing each other, Camila befriended Diana, and Diana just thought that Camila and Charles were close friends because that's what they said. Camila would give Diana advice about dating Charles, and she knew all of these very intimate and personal details that Diana thought was a little weird. Camila also shared the fact that she and Charles had nicknames for each other. They called each other Fred and Gladys. They had all these inside jokes. Camila knew a lot of personal details. They had nicknames, but whatever, they're just friends. Yeah, they're just friends. Sure. Just friends, these nuts. On February 24th, 1981, the royal family announced that Prince Charles was set to marry Lady Diana Spencer.
Charles Philip Arthur George Windsor, heir to the British throne, Prince of Wales, Earl of Chester, Duke of Cornwall, and Great Steward of Scotland, has finally chosen his bride. She is Lady Diana Spencer, and their engagement is the news Britain has been waiting for.
After just 6 months of publicly dating Diana, he popped the question. Everyone was thrilled. They were like, yeah, finally, Charles, finally. Everyone was thrilled but Charles. And Camila, of course. I'm sure she wasn't that thrilled either. Charles and Diana did their first couples interview after the announcement of the engagement, and the interview asked them if they were in love, to which Diana responds, of course we're in love. And Charles responds, sure, whatever in love means.
And I suppose in love.
Of course.
Whatever in love means. Well, it obviously
Put your own
means,
interpretation.
obviously means.
He said that on national television. I would have went, excuse you, sir? Excuse you, Charles. Charles had been honest with his family about the fact that he was still in love with Camila, but they didn't care. They were like, listen, you'll come around to Diana. Eventually you'll realize that Diana is the better option here, so just deal with it. Charles didn't want to deal with it. After the announcement of the engagement, he pretty much ghosted Diana for weeks. Now, Diana at this time was isolated from society. After the announcement of the engagement, she couldn't really go anywhere because she was being stalked by the press everywhere she went. She felt very hurt and confused that Charles had just kind of abandoned her really, and none of the other members of the royal family reached out to her during this time period either. She felt very, very alone. Charles was preparing to leave to Australia for a 5-week tour. The day before he was set to leave, he and Diana finally got to see each other, and Diana was excited because she wanted to talk with him and just connect with her soon-to-be husband. So Diana and Charles are in his study talking, trying to catch up, and then the phone rings. Ring, ring, ring. Who is it? Camila. It's Camila. Charles answers the phone and begins talking to her as if Diana is no longer there. And Diana's like, well, okay, I guess I'll go. So Diana gets up and leaves him to talk to Camila on the phone the night before he was about to leave on a long trip. Diana was really hurt that it seemed Charles would rather spend his last night talking with his friend rather than talking with the woman who's about to be his wife. She also was really hurt that Camila could just ring him up and have his attention, and Diana hadn't been able to reach him for weeks. She was like, wait. Diana started putting 2 and 2 together that maybe Charles and Camila were more than just very close friends. Yes, girl. Yes, they were definitely more than close friends. Diana began spiraling because suddenly everything was making sense. Suddenly everything became so clear. The nicknames, the inside jokes, the very intimate details, the reason Camila wanted to be friends with Diana in the first place, it all made sense. They were more than friends the entire time. Diana starts spiraling out of control. She's like, oh my God, what have I done? I can't marry him. What? I can't marry him now? She goes to her sister and she's like, yo, like, what am I gonna do? I can't marry him. And her sister is like, girl, you can't back out now. Your name and face are all over everything. Like, you have to go forward with this now. What are you gonna do? You can't cancel a royal wedding. Are you crazy? The stress of the situation caused Diana to develop an eating disorder. She felt like she had no control over her life anymore. She couldn't go anywhere. She couldn't do anything. She'd realized the man she was about to marry was in love with someone else. The other members of the royal family acted as though she didn't exist. She had no control over her life anymore. So to gain a sense of control, she began making herself sick and she developed bulimia. I forgot to mention that Diana also discovered a bracelet, a custom-made bracelet that Charles had recently bought for Camila, and the bracelet was engraved with the letters F and G, which Diana knew stood for Fred and Gladys, the nicknames that they called each other. And she was like, she knew. Then she definitely knew, like, oh no. So Charles returns home from his trip to Australia, and Diana confronts him. She's like, what's going on with you and Camila? Charles denies everything. Okay, I had to cut for a second. This eye is giving me problems. It's a little wonky, so just don't look too close. Like, this eye looks so nice, and this eye keeps watering, so it's just getting all messed up right in the corner, but we'll proceed. All right, so Charles comes home. Diana confronts him. He denies everything, and Diana's like, what about the bracelet? I found the bracelet. I know who Fred and Gladys is. What about them? Charles is like, oh, well, yeah, that was just a parting gift. Like, I ended things, it's over, you don't have to worry about it, I love you, I'm marrying you. And Diana believes him. She's like, okay, right. Great. On Wednesday, July 29th, 1981, Charles and Diana are married at St. Paul's Cathedral. It was a beautiful wedding. As I mentioned, I loved Diana's gown. I loved her tiara. Oh, just very retro 80s, very fluff. At the time of their wedding, Diana had just turned 20 and Charles was still 32. Diana felt that she and Charles were going to work. On their wedding day, she felt truly like a princess, and she felt that Charles was going to take care of her. She noticed that Camila was in attendance at the wedding, but she had hopes that that was all behind them and that was not going to be a problem anymore. All the hope that Camila was not going to be a problem anymore quickly faded. While on their honeymoon, Diana discovered that Charles carried photos of Camila in his journal. He like opened his journal and they fell out, and he's like, what? She's my friend. She's just my close friend. What do you want from me? Diana was pissed. They get in this huge argument. During their honeymoon, both Diana and Charles had felt that they'd made a huge mistake. Alright, so I usually keep the makeup malfunctions out of these videos, but this eye, look at this, it will not stop watering. And it was causing the lash over here to keep lifting up. So I had to take the lashes off and cut them, and I'm only wearing them on the sides now because it kept lifting up here. Look, it's still going, still going. But we have to persevere. I don't know. Do you guys have any remedies? If you have remedies on how to get your eye to stop watering, please let me know down in the comments below. I greatly appreciate that. Alright, so anyways, the honeymoon was a mess. Both Charles and Diana thought that they'd made a terrible mistake, and their relationship would continue to be very hot and cold from this point on. Sometimes Charles was obsessed with Diana and he was professing his love for her, and other times he was emotionally unavailable and he wanted nothing to do with her. This was very confusing for Diana, and she was also very stressed out because now she was a member of the royal family and no one was helping her, no one was talking to her. She was very, very alone and she couldn't trust Charles. Diana was not doing well mentally, and she tried to be as open as she could about her declining mental health, but no one took her seriously. They just gave her a high dose of Valium and just told her to relax. On June 21st, 1982, Prince William was born, and this was great news. The royal family was thrilled to have their next heir. Although everyone was very excited to have a new baby in the family, Diana was becoming more difficult to deal with. She was not behaving as the obedient, naive princess that they signed her up to be. She was difficult. After giving birth to William, she prioritized being a mother over everything else, including her duties as the princess. During long trips, it was customary for members of the royal family to leave their children behind for long periods of time. But Diana refused to leave William anywhere. She's like, I'm not leaving my baby anywhere with you people. I don't know y'all. Which she didn't, truthfully. This caused a lot of problems between Diana and Charles. It made them argue even more. On one hand, Charles had a lot of respect for Diana as a mother because he had a lot of resentment towards his own mother because she would leave him behind all the time. Like, the queen was always gone. Charles didn't really grow up with his parents around. So he respected that Diana really wanted to be there for William. On the other hand, he thought she was being very childish and difficult and disobedient, and he wanted her to participate for the role she signed up for. Eventually, they were able to come to a compromise. Charles expressed his adoration for Diana as a mother, and Diana appreciated this, and she was like, okay, you know what, you're right, I can do more, I can make some more appearances, fine. So Charles and Diana start making appearances together as a couple. As they begin making more and more public appearances, Diana becomes a star. Everyone loves her. Everyone loves Diana. Anywhere she went, crowds would gather and everyone wanted her attention. Everyone wanted to take photos of her. It got to a point that when they were driving in the car for their appearances, the press wanted to see Diana on the side that Charles normally sat. So Charles would sit on the side where everyone could see the both of them, but mainly him, and they asked him to switch. And Charles was offended by this. He was like, excuse me? And even worse, when Charles would show up to appearances alone, people would be disappointed because they came to see Diana. They were like, what, so Diana's not coming? Aw, man. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool to see the next king, but like, we really wanted to see your wife or whatever. As I mentioned earlier, Charles was a very troubled soul. He was very insecure about his role in the royal family, and he really wanted to shine. He was looking for someone who would help him shine. And Diana was kind of taking that limelight away from him. He was supposed to be the next king. He was supposed to be the star. And he wasn't the star. And it wasn't as though Diana was doing it on purpose and she understood why it upset him, but there wasn't really anything she could do about it. Like, she couldn't help that the people loved her. Anyways, Charles became convinced that Diana was doing it on purpose. He saw that she liked the attention, which she did. So he was convinced that she was doing it on purpose, and he reignited his affair with Camila. He again felt that Camila was his one true love, the only woman who would ever really understand him. When he was around Camila, he was the star of the relationship, and she propped him up and made him look better. When he was with Diana, he just looked like the frumpy prince in the background, just grumpy and angry and when he was around Diana, Diana was the star of the relationship, and she seemed to not understand how to make Charles look like a better person, because I guess that was her job. So he started seeing Camila again, but he would also continue lying about it to Diana, and this would go on pretty much throughout their entire marriage. He was emotionally manipulating Diana the entire time. All right, so now we'll fast forward a couple years to 1987. Diana is now 27, and the couple have 2 children, Prince William and Prince Harry. Their marriage is still very dysfunctional. Charles is still seeing Camila, and everyone in their inner circle knows about it. Now, this, of course, was very hurtful and embarrassing for Diana, so she begins having an affair of her own. So now both she and Charles are stepping out of their marriage. So the 2 of them were sleeping around, they were staying in separate homes, they were very dysfunctional and it wasn't a happy marriage at all. But Diana finally felt comfortable enough in herself to start performing her royal duties. She finally felt like, I can go out and be the princess. Yeah. Diana began involving herself in philanthropy and bringing awareness to charities and people in need. She met with AIDS and HIV patients and hugged them on national television, which caused huge controversy because at the time, in the 80s, there was not a lot of knowledge or awareness around AIDS and HIV, and some people thought that you could get it from just touching someone. So to see Princess Diana hugging someone on national television, it helped to destigmatize the disease a lot. This showed Diana's truly caring and nurturing personality, which made people fall in love with her even more. Charles was beginning to hate Diana. He was like, she's doing this on purpose. She's hugging sick HIV/AIDS patients on purpose. She's doing it to get at me. Sure, Charles. He was very jealous of the attention that Diana was getting, and rumor has it that he wasn't the only one. Apparently, the Queen also disapproved of Diana working with such controversial charities. She asked that Diana do something a little bit lighter, like, why can't you go and, represent animal charities? And Diana's like, because there are people who need help. I guess. I don't know. I wasn't there. But some believe that the Queen was also a little jealous of Diana's popularity. The Queen also wanted to meet with Diana and Charles about their failing marriage. It was starting to spread, like there were rumors starting to circulate that they weren't doing so well. People were starting to realize that they weren't staying in the same house. They were going and doing appearances separately. It was apparent that they weren't well. So the Queen's like, hey, y'all need to get this together because you're stuck. You're stuck with each other, so figure it out. Charles, at this point, was done. He wanted nothing to do with Diana anymore. He wanted to divorce her. Diana was willing to try and make it work, but Charles he didn't want to be with her anymore. She tried, but he was like, no. My love is with Camila. So the press began reporting more and more rumors about Charles and Diana's failing marriage, and the narrative became that it was Diana's fault. She was controlling and uncooperative, and this really pissed Diana off because the exact opposite were true. Sure, she hadn't been perfect, but Charles had been the one who was unfaithful from the very beginning, so don't blame me. That's what she said. She's like, what? It's not my fault. Diana knew that her personality had been an asset to the royal family, and it really upset her that they didn't see value in her. She alone had really modernized the royal family. Before her, they were very unrelatable and kind of untouchable, and she made them more modern. Diana was a very relatable, charming, charismatic member of the royal family, and she brought them a lot of great publicity, some bad, but for the most part, she made them modern. She made them hip. She made them cool. you know? Diana had had enough. She'd had enough of being ostracized in the family. She realized that it was not going to work with Charles, and she was tired. So she began making connections with other prominent political figures. She also confronted Camila. She was like, listen, I know, I've known this whole time. I know, I see you, bitch. That's what she said. Maybe. I don't know. I wasn't there. Diana began trying to publicly separate her image from her husband and from the royal family. And she devised a plan to release a book that would expose her experience inside the royal family. She connected with a friend who was a journalist, and she did recordings that he could use as material to write the book. And then when the book came out, she was to have nothing to do with it. She'd be like, oh, I don't know how they found this. We must have a leak. I don't know. So once the book gets published, the public gets a look into what it was like for Diana to pretty much become a royal overnight. They find out about the affair that Prince Charles was having with Camila. And then after the book came out, someone, like a member of the press, published these conversations. Like, they found conversations between Prince Charles and Camila that pretty much confirmed that they were, in fact, having an affair. So then everyone was like, oh my God, the book is true. Like, the book is real, you know? Like, this is for real. Diana's still like, oh my, how? Yeah, it's real, but I don't know how they got him. She didn't release the recordings of Camila and Charles, though. Someone found those. She had nothing to do with that, but they did confirm her story. So Diana denied any involvement in the book, but she did appear in an interview where she confirmed that the book was true, and she pretty much spilled the beans. She was like, yeah, you know, they don't respect me. They're crazy. They're weird. Charles is a cheater. All this stuff.
She was saying that she didn't think that he was suited to the job, that he wanted the freedom, the ability to express himself that he's got as Prince of Wales, that he'd find being king too constricting. In the old days, this was called treason.
The public were very shocked. Some people felt sympathy for her, but some people thought she was being very disrespectful to the monarchy and the royal family. One of the people who most certainly disagreed with Diana's interview was the Queen. As soon as the interview aired, the Queen was like, oh no, okay, Diana gotta go. Diana got to go. All right, Charles, you guys can get a divorce. She gotta go. On August 28th, 1996, the divorce was final. After the divorce, Diana did receive a lot of criticism in the press, but Charles's reputation was in shambles. Like, it was just in the toilet. It was ruined. He was an adulterer. Charles. Everybody hated Charles. Diana continued with her philanthropy, and she continued to be in the public eye. She was pretty much a celebrity, and she was definitely still the most popular royal member. The royal family disapproved of all of the press that Diana was getting, but there was nothing they could really do about it. Diana had begun publicly dating as well. She finally went and found the love she felt she deserved. Diana was really moving forward in life. On August 31st, 1997, just 1 year after the divorce was final, Princess Diana was killed in a car crash along with her boyfriend at the time, Dodi Fayed, and the driver of the vehicle, Henry Paul. The death of Diana was very shocking and sudden, and it devastated a lot of people. Many mourned the beloved princess. So I have seen, or I've heard of the conspiracies that Princess Diana was killed, that it wasn't actually an accident, it was on purpose. I don't really know, and I've been really trying not to get too invested in conspiracy theories because you just won't have the answers. You'll never know. I'm very curious if The Crown, the next season of The Crown, will allude to that, or if they'll spill some tea on that. I don't know if they dare do that, but I would love to see it. I'm very excited for the next season. Princess Diana's death was very tragic, and many mourned her death. She left behind her 2 sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, and they were very, very sad. It was very, very sad. It still is. Prince Charles went on to marry Camila in 2005, and they are still very happily married today. Well, I presume they're happy. I don't know. Hopefully they're happy. I think it is a little commendable that he knew she was his soulmate when he was 20, and he wasn't allowed to marry her, but then he ended up marrying her, and they're still married. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of count for something. Kind of. I don't know. Please be sure to let me know what you guys think down in the comments below if you've heard this story before or if you learned something new. I'm very interested to hear what you guys think, as always. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me. I will see you in my next video. Stick around and watch some other videos while you're here. Why not? Do it. All right. I love you, and I'll see you in my next one.